Hello everyone, welcome to the NN Classroom. Today, I'd like to share with you a past paper question from 2019, Time Zone 2 in May. So that is question number 21, a pretty classical one that actually kind of pop up every year. So that is a type of rate equation question in topic 16, the high level of kinetics. Let's see, what is the order with respect to each of the reactant? That means we should go across NO and Cl2 and see how the change in the concentrations will affect the rate to what extent, and that is basically talking about the so-called rate order, right? For the rate order concept, first of all, we should notice that here comes a relationship applying the so-called rate law. So the rate will be proportional to all the corresponding concentration to a corresponding power, and that is what we call the rate order with respect to each of the reactant. So that's why for this case, we should notice that the rate should be proportional to 2 of the concentration, as we see 2 reactants, right? So the first one, which is NO, to a corresponding power, let's say X, and also Cl2, chlorine, which corresponding to a power Y, right? So notice that, and this is also be a really key idea, the rate order with respect to NO and Cl2 is not relating to anything about the coefficient of the balanced overall equation. Bear this in mind. So that's why the X and Y can only be deduced by doing experiment. Deduced by doing experiment. So that explains why quite a lot of the set of the experiments are now done for us. So like set 1, set 2, and set 3. And what their difference is in terms of changing the concentration. And our goal is to find out whether the change in the concentration will kind of affecting the rate. So that is simply leading us to know the corresponding rate order. Make sense? So let's see. The skill is every time remember, compare one pair of experiments. And the pair of experiment that we should choose is the one that only containing one of the species concentration that is changing. For example, if I want to know the order with respect to, let's say, Cl2, so that is Y, right? The first thing that we should choose is a pair experiment in which the concentration of Cl2 is changing, but not NO. So in this case, for sure, we can spot for the pair of reaction 1 and 2, because comparing experiment 1 and 2, we should see the concentration of nitrogen monoxide is not changing, but only changing chlorine. So in this case, chlorine is having a double concentration, so times 2, and this will lead to the rate also increase by a double, right? So here comes U double, I double, right? So that is meaning directly proportional, right? So with this perspective, directly proportional means to the corresponding power of 1, right? First order, because first order implies that how much you increase for the concentration of that particular reactant, how much you increase for that initial rate of reaction as well. So that's why U double, I double, so that is corresponding to power 1. So that's why with respect to chlorine, we should choose the order of 1, right? So the second case, which is looking for the concentration effect of nitrogen monoxide. So in this case, again, the same thinking mindset. We should choose a pair of experiment in which only one of the concentration that is changing. So our subject, which is NO, but not Cl2. So luckily, you should figure out that is the choice of experiment 1 and 3. Because by looking at 1 and 3, chlorine doesn't change, right? So the only thing that is changed, that is nitrogen monoxide, by having a doubling effect of the concentration. And this doubling effect will bring the rate in corresponding to increase by 4 times, from 2.4 all the way to 10, right? So that's why this is U double, I quadruple. And how we understand this quadruple, so times 4, which means times 2 to the square. So that's why if you go for the times 2 to the power 1, I go for the times 2 to the power 2. So that is a second order performance, right? So that's why by comparing experiment 1 and 3, we should notice that the corresponding power for X, which is going to be 2, also known as second order, with respect to NO. So that's why with this perspective, the corresponding answer for this question will then be C.